Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening, and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. You know, Mississippi, place that I was born, a place that I love, a place that I do not intend on leaving. It's a labor of love. There are so many things wrong with Mississippi, and yet it's got so much potential. The opportunity to be so great. You know, the history that we have, the history alone would make us one of the sought-after tourist attractions in the world if we would just embrace our diversity and share our strength and understand that together, blacks and whites in Mississippi in particular, if they come together, if they work together, then Mississippi will rise. And truly, the South will rise again, but it's going to be a shared partnership. It can no longer be the age-old methods of, you know, you on the bottom and I'm on the top, and my job is to keep you down. Someone said a long time ago that the only way you can keep a man in the ditch is that you got to get in the ditch with him. And so here in Mississippi, we have to have a new day. Now listen to all of the rhetoric and all the hatred that's being spewed on talk radio shows all across the state of Mississippi, talking about the ailments and the illegitimacy of black leadership throughout our state. We got to cut that out. My friend Kim Wade over on WYAB is in particularly wrong for what he's doing. He's sharing and carrying a message that sets us back more than 100 years. I remember the movie Soldier Story. And, you know, the brother said, this Geechee, you know, we just gotta stop our people from acting that way. And so we have to represent the African-American community in a positive manner. We have to remind all of the many contributions that we made bringing this country to where it is today. This country was built on the backs of African Americans. We should never let anyone forget that. We should be proud of that, and everyone that comes in our past, comes in contact with us, should recognize our contribution, because we're the foundation that they stand on, that they sit on today. Mississippi, more than any other place, should be proud of African Americans. We have such a rich history and legacy of black folk who have done amazing things throughout this world. You know, when I go to Chicago, I know that I'm speaking to family and friends from Mississippi, because that's where the Great Migration went to when it left Mississippi. And so what we got to do, we got to fix this now, and we got to embrace one another. Dr. Henderson always talks about the fact that we should not criticize, but we have to organize. And yes, we do have to organize, but we got to organize around sound strategy with people, and we got to have discipline. We got to have the ability to enforce the strategies and the decisions that we make. And so it's critically important that we have these dialogues here on this show today. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to go ahead and share this program with your friends and family. Send us stars, makes us feel good, and it helps monetize this program. If you're watching us on YouTube, go on and subscribe to the program. It's very, very important. We're close to 500 subscribers now, and we want to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So we're making a concerted effort to move that needle. We're going to be increasing the number of programs that we're running every day so that we can keep a diversified audience and bring you the kind of information that you can't get anywhere else. So if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead on and subscribe. If you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, then we want you to share this program with your friends and families. We want you to hit the donate button because we need your support. And we want you to enjoy the many topics that you will find there on We Believe Digital's platform. Topics like inspiration and sports, and even the internet radio station can be found there. Enjoy gospel music, easy listening as we bring that to you 24 hours a day. Now, if you want us to advertise your products for goods and services, then call us at 800-492-5186. Now, we have a really interesting advertising combination package that includes WRTM radio station, 100.5 Smooth Radio, with my brother Carl Haynes over there is partnered with us. It includes the Mississippi Link newspaper with a 1-4-page ad in the Mississippi Link newspaper, a paper that's recognized all over the world, and the publisher has been recognized all over the world as being one of the greatest publications of all times. It also includes our internet radio station that's broadcasting all over the world, playing great music 24 hours a day. And lastly, it's also included on our broadcast station. This shows like this on our podcast station. And so for 40 spots, which you traditionally pay $10 a spot or so for traditional radio, and they'll run that 10 times for you for X number of dollars, we will run the program for you 40 times, 10 on WRTM, 10 on internet radio, 10 on the We Believe podcast studio, and in the Mississippi Link newspaper for approximately the same dollars. You just can't beat it. So if you want to get your word out, then call us at 800-492-5186. If you're running for political office, if you're a candidate, then take advantage of this special that we're running on advertising spots. Come in. We'll help you produce your commercial, both audio and video. Our quality of our work will be, you'll be able to play that commercial not only throughout social media, but also over regular television networks. So now is the time for you to take advantage of this great special that we're running here in the We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio. Now, we're being seen all over the world. We've been seen in 139 countries. We have sister relationships in Atlanta and Birmingham, and right here in Jackson, Mississippi with terrestrial radio stations. We are also connected to Southern Soul with Boogie down in Florida, where we bring their music to the platform as well. So you get the picture on what we're doing. We're going to be like Bonanza. You're going to see the growth start to expand, and it's going to move out over this entire country, because we get calls every day from people that says, we enjoy your content. We'd love to have access to your content that you have on your radio station. They go to YouTube and they see that we have over 900 videos that are already there on YouTube, high quality. People are always impressed by the quality of the work that they see us produce here in the broadcast studio. And that's because we work hard at it. You know, our engineers are highly trained. And so that's why you see the kind of productions that we're able to produce and the quality of that content. Now, as always, it's good to have my co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, in the studio. He's a man that needs no real introduction. He's known all over the world. He was recently honored last Saturday night as being a champion of social justice at the play that was produced by Chad Cooper, Justice on Trial. Dr. Henderson was one of those that were recognized as having made a major contribution to the well-being and the uplifting of African Americans in this state and throughout the country. Now, Dr. Henderson, it's good to have you in the studio again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Socrates. As usual, I'm proud to be here, and I must admit you're doing a good job talking about WeBelieveDigital.com and all the other communication services that you have that's worldwide. And the good thing about what you are saying, and I've been hearing this for a while, you want to include local, state, national, and international news talking about black people specifically and how they can change their lives, their statuses, their communities in 30, 60, 90 days, providing they have a plan. Now, that is great. Who else is doing this? Most people are trying to do it, but they have segmentized their presentation. One thing, YouTube, radio, TV, Facebook, but not all of them. And you have radio, television, newspaper, on, and this is destined to be a major international corporation in the next 3 to 5 years. I want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Doc, we normally spend a lot of time, we're talking about, we do a lot of African-American history because it's not taught in schools.
Correct.
And that our children have low self-esteem because they know nothing about where they came from and who they are. And so we spend a lot of time talking about that over the various programs that we run. Tonight, I want to shift gears just a little bit, though. I want to know a little bit about the immigration laws in the U.S. I want to know a little bit about, what is going on in Mexico and at the border, and why are people flocking to get into a country that many say has a country that has a lot of imperfections. And how will they be treated, once they're here, and the separation of families and issues like that. So do we have a lot of immigrants? And define an immigrant for me?
Well, an immigrant, Mr. Socrates, is one that is not a citizen nor a naturalized citizen in the United States or in a country where they are trying to enter. You can come here the right way, the legal way, and you can become a naturalized citizen after you remain in a place 6 months or a year, unless you get special authority from the president or the Congress or whatever. Or you can slip into the country illegally, and you can maneuver yourself in a position where you can get a work paper called the green card or whatever you want to call it, or a special visa if you're an immigrant and you're not a citizen, to work in what we call an area in technology or finance that you can't find enough Americans to do. Those are the different ways one can get into the country, and all of these are underhanded ways to take advantage of the poor immigrant, whether he's qualified or not. And to give you an example, when you get the immigrants in that have special skills, if you look at the pay rate, they usually make just a little bit less than those that are trained in America. They usually are expected to work longer hours, have less conveniences on the job, and they are very, very hard workers in most cases, and that's why the industries invite these people to come to this country through Congress. They get on Congress and say, we need special laws for special people because we have special needs here, and we can't find the workers that's graduated from our universities.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. President Trump made the remarks that we didn't need any more people from those S-hole countries, and I assume he was talking about Africa and places like that. But it seems there's a lot of pushback on allowing people to come into this country. But now, isn't it true that America is built upon immigrants, that all residents of America are somehow how an immigrant?
Well, if you look at the records, you'll find right now probably about 99.5% of everyone that's alive today in America could be considered an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 100%. The only few that are left that were here 15 to 2,000 years before the Europeans and all the others that arrived are so-called Native Americans that have been here many, many years, but they are almost extinct to the point where they have been marginalized to the point where they are looked at as insignificant individuals that have an independent right to be separate from America. So therefore, they gave them something called a reservation so they can make them believe they have their own nation with their own laws, police force, their own councils and legislatures and so forth. But that is a sham because the United States has a Bureau of Indian Affairs that tell those boys what they can do and what they can't do. And if you violate these rules, we're going to cut off your money, we're going to cut off your food, we're going to cut off the medicine we send to your ill-equipped hospitals, and we are going to make sure that if you have a problem in your reservation and you don't punish the people severely, we're going to use our courts. Is that an independent nation for you, sir?
At least pretty much so. But let me ask you this, Doc. In Mississippi, we have less than 3 million people, but we got a great deal of land mass. So you can drive in Mississippi for days and days and not see anybody. Wouldn't it be a good thing for Mississippi to open up its borders to immigrants?
Well, it would, now, if they would do it in a selective manner. Now, there's nothing wrong with one going to another country if they have good reasons for education, jobs, or things like that. But if they're coming from a country where they are killing each other, a lot of gangbangers, drug dealers and other, the United States government and the Congress could get together with the leaders in those areas and do like they do anywhere they want to do it, and that is say, these are your problems. We are going to send the experts, the money, and get you trained to take care of these problems. We have industrial captains that got all kinds of manufacturing desires and needs. We're going to send them to your country so your folks can get jobs. We're going to enhance your education system from kindergarten through university. That can happen overnight, but it's not going to happen, and we'll talk about that later.
Well, the deal is this, Doc. We're last in education. We're last in so many things. And most teams, if you take it in a sports example, most teams that are last in everything know that the only way they're going to get better is through recruitment. They have to recruit new talent. They cannot train the existing talent that they have. They've already maxed out with that, and they're still last. So the only way you're going to do that now is through recruitment. So should Mississippi be one of those places that's advertising that we have lots of land, that we're open for immigrants to move into Mississippi and help us build this economy?
Now, that wouldn't be a bad idea if they used another approach. Now, they used that approach they used the first time, where they invited individuals to come to America through force and through what we call the mandates of slavery, and define those people as non-humans and put them in a specific employment situation where they had to work like slaves up to 16 and 18 hours a day for about 250 years. Now, that was not a good way to get immigrants, and then they limited them to the point where they were not able to be progressive and they were not able to move into the educational arena. They couldn't vote, they couldn't be respected as human beings, they couldn't serve on juries, they couldn't own property, and they were abused on a regular basis until 1808 from the 1700s. That's not good immigration policy. That is not good immigration policy.
Well, not good immigration policies. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about Mississippi and the makeup of Mississippi. You know, I don't know how diverse Mississippi really is when it comes to other races and other ethnic groups. We know that Mississippi is 40% African American, but I don't know what the Hispanic population is here, the Asian population here is here, or the Native American population is in the state of Mississippi. So when we come back, we're going to dive into that a little bit and see where Mississippi is today and what would be a good balance for that. We're getting ready to go to a commercial break. You stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back. You're watching Socrates, Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. You're watching We Believe podcast, and you can see us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Roku TV. We're in 139 countries. We've been seen all over the world. If you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to hit the subscribe button. It's important to us that you do that. We'd like to get a number of our subscriptions up as fast as we possibly can. You'll also see all of the many programs that we have there, some 900 videos there for your entertainment and your education. Enjoy that as you view all of the content that We Believe Digital has there. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share this program with your friends and family. And of course, we want you to send us stars. We need your financial support to continue to bring these type of intelligent, articulate conversations that you hear here tonight. If you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, then we want you to share this program with your friends and family and hit the donate button. Enjoy the many topics that you'll find there at WeBelieveDigital.com, from inspiration to hot topics to sports, and our very own internet radio station. That's right. You can enjoy great music 24 hours a day on We Believe Radio. So there's a lot for you to do here, but we need your help, and we need you to understand that this studio is available to you. Now, if you'd like to advertise your products for goods and services, you call us at 800-492-5186. If you're interested in your own podcast show, then you call us at the very same number, 800-492-5186. We'd love to have you in the studio. You can have a 30-minute show for less than $100, an hour show for less than $200. Come on in, share with the world your thoughts, your aspirations, your dreams, your hopes, and the difficulties that you've experienced living in Mississippi and abroad. So we need your content. We want to share your stories. So get in touch with us. Again, the number is 800-492-5186. Now, my co-host and I, Dr. Henderson, were talking about immigration laws and the impact of immigrants in this country, and we were talking about Mississippi in particular. Because Mississippi has such a small population, less than 3 million people in the entire state. And you know, when I go into Chicago, they have more people in Chicago than we have in the entire state of Mississippi. So there's room for some growth and an expansion. And Mississippi happens to be last in many categories. And so having new blood and new ideas and new concepts may not be a bad idea. You know, there's strength in diversity. And we got to begin to embrace diversity, especially here in Mississippi. Now, Dr. Henderson, we'll get right back into it.
Yes.
Now, the governor of Texas is sending people away from Texas.
That's right. To New York, Washington, all over the place.
How can he do that? Is that legal?
Yes, it's legal. When you are part of government and you have clout and you are considered one of the top officials in government and you're very popular, you care nothing about the laws on the state level. You have no respect for the Constitution of the United States. And all you want to do is increase your visibility so you can get to the next level politically, and you don't care who you hurt other than your voting base. Now, you're not going to hurt them, but everyone else is a racehorse for you to get on and ride and beat them down and do them any way you want to do it. And look how they're doing those poor Hispanics from Mexico, Honduras, and all those other areas. They get here illegally, many of them, most of them. They get into the reception station, clean them up a little bit, give them some new clothes, don't check their health to the point where they know whether they have coronavirus or AIDS or anything else, put them on a bus and say, I'm going to drop you off in New York City on Fifth Avenue, or send you to the vice president's house, or send you to a senator's house and say goodbye. Get off and leave them. That is historically wrong. It is a criminal act realistically, and it's not the thing to do to a fellow human being, because all you have to do, and it's going to happen in the future, when those same people that are being abused, one day they are going to rise to the top. They're going to no matter what people think. When you abuse a person for years and they get in a position of responsibility, they're not going to forget it. And that's why a lot of those people in Asia and Africa and the Middle East think about what happened to them during the colonial period 200 and 300 years ago. And they are fighting today because they hate how the Europeans divided their countries, divided the ethnic groups, on and on and on. This is a 3-hour conversation. It will happen. But it does not have to happen that way in Mississippi if they would have what I call managed immigration growth, where they look at the potential job market for the next 5 to 15 years and say we have a job economy where we're going to need 30,000 new workers in various areas, technology, agriculture, and other areas, and we are going to put an appeal out throughout the world for certain people from a multiplicity of ethnic groups, including Europeans, of course Asians, Africans, Middle Easterners, those from Latin America and Central America, those from the Caribbean. Not one group, because if you send one group anywhere, they're going to usually start at the top, and they are going to be taken advantage of. And if they come in the professional class, I told you earlier before the break, they're going to take advantage of them economically, work them like a slave, and time they mess up, they're going to take the visas away and send them back to India, Asia, Africa, which not going to be many from Africa in the first place, but they're going to send them back home, other than the Europeans. Now, they're going to let them assimilate.
Let me ask you a question. In Mississippi, do we have a Hispanic population?
Yes, we most certainly do, but even the government doesn't know how many Hispanics here. The Hispanics don't know how many here. They're citizens. The numbers change on a daily basis, And when they get to the point where they need some publicity, the local, state, and federal officials will get together and go and raid a business somewhere and send some on it, put them on a bus and send them back to Mexico and other places to get some publicity. And they usually do this before election, about 6 months before an election, and that get them back in office or make them believe that they are protecting America.
So I recall that there was a raid on the chicken processing plant up in Canton, Mississippi, and they loaded up a lot of Hispanics and took them somewhere.
That's right.
And separated families and children and all kinds of miserable things that go along with raids like that. And so that is inhumane to do things like that.
Of course it is, but that's not inhumane in the psychic of the American, European politicians and corporate leaders. Read the history, you'll find they've always done this since the 1600s. Always divided the people. They put what I call the whiplash on the brown and black and so-called, I think they call them the Caucasoids. Those are the Europeans. They are the leaders that's using the whip. But those Mongolian types and the blacks and those other brown colors like the Native Americans and those others from India, the Japanese and Chinese, were always invited to America, and they treated them like dogs and slaves.
Wow.
Even they excluded the Chinese for a while. They passed something called the Chinese Exclusion Act. Said we got too many over here. They are populating the areas too much.
So we embrace diversity, and so you say that we have a Hispanic population in Mississippi, but I don't believe we have one Hispanic anywhere in government in the entire state of Mississippi. I don't recall hearing that we had one.
Well, there might be one, but he or she has probably declared that they are not going to be considered an Hispanic. They probably have changed their appearance. They probably dyed their hair. They probably have learned to speak English without an accent. And they probably married to a European, whether it's a male or female, in most cases. I guarantee you they don't look like a regular Hispanic, and that's why when you see the boards of control on the local, regional, and state level, you can't tell whether they have any Hispanics or not. But you can sure tell they don't have many blacks. You can sure tell they don't have many Chinese, Japanese on these boards of control on the local, regional, and state level.
We don't have that for certain. And I don't believe we have many Hispanics there either. Now,
no, we don't.
What is the difference between the term Hispanic and Mexican? Is there a difference?
There's a difference, and there's a lot of controversy around that. Now, when you talk about the Mexicans, basically my research shows you're talking about the people that were born in Mexico. But all the Hispanics don't speak the same Spanish. They don't look alike. They have a different culture. They have a different psychic. So you can't put all the Mexicans with the Hispanics and think you have the same people. You don't. Just like you can't put all the blacks in one category. There are different black people in America. They have a different culture. Some were never slaves in America, and their kids have done well educationally, in business, and so forth. But the other group, the 98% of blacks that were slaves, just a few years ago they was out of slavery for 7 years, from 1868 to 1869 or 70, some books say 71 or 72. After that period, they were back in slavery that was condoned and endorsed by the constitutions, where they put them in peonage situations on these doggone plantations. And they had no rights until the 1960s. From 1887 until the 1960s, anybody that didn't have a job, that were caught without a pass from some European person saying this man is allowed to be in town today, the sheriff or the constables would pick him up, take him to the judge, send him to prison, and you, plantation owner, would be at the prison, get you 30 or 40 of those slaves, males and females, take them to your plantation and put them in the slave house, which wasn't called that. The barracks, the workers' barrack, just like they were when they were living on the plantation. But it was a little worse because many of the slaves had little shacks they could live in. But if you was a black vagrant that picked up in Clinton, Mississippi, in Belzona or somewhere like that, you went to jail, and then they farm you out to a plantation or a mine or a timber company, and they paid the officials a certain amount per person. And then they had the total responsibility for their safety and health and food.
No.
Yes, sir.
You said a lot. But one of the things you said that there were two types of black folk, but we're all black folk.
Right.
I've grown up and understood the concept to be if you got one drop of black blood in you, you're black.
That's right.
I don't care. It's just one drop.
If one can recognize it. That's right. But now, if you have one drop of black, and you don't look black, you most certainly can pass for white and don't even tell your husband or wife, and you are accepted. But if you were married for 40 years and you told your wife, I'm from Bolton, Mississippi, I am from Clinton, Mississippi, and my mom and dad are black people, therefore our children are black, she will probably leave you before midnight, after she calls a divorce attorney and decide how much she's going to take from
Is that much hatred? Is that is being black such a bad thing that someone would leave and divorce their husband before midnight just because they discovered they had some black blood?
Man,
is it that bad?
It's that bad, has always been that bad. In certain cases, it has been worse than that.
Okay, well, is it the same between Mexicans and Hispanics, or do they get along?
Well, they get along to a degree, but you're not going to find too many Hispanics from the different countries and different cultures intermarry.
Can you tell the difference when you see individual? Can you look at them and tell that they are Hispanic or they're Mexican? Do they have distinct features?
Well, many do. Many do.
So there is a difference.
There is a difference when you...
Because I can look at you and tell if you're from Africa.
That's right.
Most of the time. Now, there's some, what you say, that have this mulatto status.
That's right.
That you may not know what
through 3 and 4 generations. Now, you can't tell where those devils are from. They could have been born here in America, or there might even be a European that moved over here.
Okay.
But
okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so let's get to, if we don't have many Hispanics in Mississippi, and those that are here seem to be working as illegals in the industry that's undesirable, on the debone line and the chicken processing plants and places like that.
And roofing, construction,
and roofing,
heating, air conditioning, not as the bonded, insured person, but they have been trained through their hard work to become electricians, roofers, plumbers, landscape specialists, construction specialists.
What do you say to the fact that we are now saying that black folk won't do the work? That Mexicans now, illegals or not, are doing most of the work in the industries that you just named, and black people are sitting on the porch.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. Historically, you got to divide and conquer. 30 to 40 years ago, you didn't have all these immigrants coming to America with those skills. You didn't need them. You had black folks. Black folks start thinking that they're supposed to have a minimum wage. They're supposed to have equal education. They're supposed to have affirmative action instances where they can go and get in law school and medical school. And then they got to the point where they wanted to be in management. So the Europeans and the captains of industry say this is going too far. These Negroes black people think they're going to be equal to us in a few years. We have to limit their education. We got to eliminate affirmative action, and we just cannot allow these people to make rules and serve on these juries, be district attorneys in the legislatures, which include the House and the Senate. We have to limit this. And if too many get in there, we're going to figure out ways to get them out. And they're doing it every day all over the country. All over the country.
Now we're getting ready to go to a station break. We're going to come back and talk about how immigrants or how blacks are treated in other countries, Germany and France and China and places like that.
Okay.
See, kind of, is everything the same with countries don't want diversity? And things of that nature. So when we come back, we want to talk about that. But we're up against a station break, and you're watching Socrates, Garrett Live on We Believe Digital Podcast. We're broadcasting live in over 139 countries, being seen all over the world. You can call us at 800-492-5186. You can advertise your products for goods and services right here on this platform. We also have 24-hour internet radio station that's playing some of the best music in the world. The podcast show that you see tonight will be heard on radio sometime tomorrow. So we got a lot of great things going on here in the studio, but we're up against a break. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. We're being seen all over the world in over 139 countries. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Roku TV, and our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. You can call us at 800-492-5186. If you're watching us on Facebook, share this program with your friends and family and send us some stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Help us get our subscription numbers up on that particular platform. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, enjoy the many topics that are available to you, from sports, from inspiration. Also, see our radio station that's there. We Believe Radio plays 24 hours a day. The program that you see broadcasting live here will also be heard on our radio station all over the world on the following day. We got a lot of great things going on. We just need you to join us to make this platform the best that we can possibly make it. Call us at 800-492-5186. We need you to come in and have your own podcast show, do your own television program, do your own sitcom, do your own documentary. These are the kinds of things that we're interested in and that we're after. Now, Mississippi has some rich history, but most of it has not been told. Very little of Mississippi history has ever hit the public eye or been written in any book. You got to remember that you can't even teach black history in Mississippi today. Critical race theory has been banned by the state of Mississippi. You ban the critical race theory, and then you ban TikTok. Now, what is going on? You want a closed society because Mississippi rulers have enjoyed the largesse and the economy all to themselves and kept the rest of the population in the state down. You know, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi in particular, could have outgrown Atlanta. It could have been a far greater city than Atlanta is. Now, Delta Airlines wanted to come into Mississippi, started out in Monroe, wanted to move into Jackson, Mississippi, but we didn't want them here. And so our leaders forced them to go on to Atlanta. You know, we have a price to pay of the sins of our fathers. And what bothers me most is that the children seem to be following some of the same paths that have kept us last in every major category. There's a lot going on. We're going to work our way through it, and we're going to find solutions to it. And that's why my co-host that's here on Fridays is one of the most sought-after speakers in the entire country. Now, you can reach him and get him out to speak to your churches, your schools, to all of your organizations. Not only is he extremely intelligent and book smart, but he's street smart. He was born on a plantation in Mississippi, and you can look at him sitting here today. He is razor sharp, physically and mentally. And so you know when you call and need a great speaker that Dr. Eldridge Henderson is the guy that you ought to call. I'm going to ask him to give his contact information out to you, and then we'll get back into our program. Dr. Henderson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Socrates. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear a progressive speaker that's going to tell you the problem and then give you a solution to your problems that you can start using in 30, 60, 90 days, call the Speakers Bureau at Action Leadership Institute, 601-201-1957. All we need to know, where you're located, who is your audience, how many individuals you expect, and tell us the time and the place of that activity. Call that number. Look at the website, actionleadershipinstitute.org, actionleadershipinstitute.org. Spell it out and look at what we do, folks, and then call us. And if we don't give you information that's going to help you, we will not even charge you a fee. You can't beat that. 601-201-1957.
Now, let's get back into the program.
Yes, sir.
Now, many of the comments that we've seen flowing through the program tonight has indicated that there are more Hispanics in Mississippi than we know about.
That's correct.
Are they not captured on the census that goes around every, 10 years?
Well, they are not, because they move around a lot. And if you're not a real citizen, when you see that person coming along with that paper and wearing that little old suit vest that says census taker, you disappear. You send the one in the household that's a citizen already, or one with some papers. The others go out the back door, get under the bed or in the closet. And that's the way it's supposed to be. They don't want to be sent back to Mexico, Honduras, and all those other places. They want to stay here and take advantage of these great economic opportunities so they can send money back to their relatives so they can get out of economic and political slavery in those areas like Mexico, Honduras, and all those other places, Venezuela, on and on and on. They don't want to leave. They want to stay here.
So we're talking about them, the number of Hispanics and Mexicans that are in the country. And we know that Hispanics and Mexicans have done some marvelous things.
Some great things.
We know they made great contributions to the world in terms of their achievements. So we recognize that and we salute them for that. We also know that they are trying to come into this country because of political hardships, because of violence, because of things that make you want to leave. And so they're coming into America, and now today in Mississippi, while we don't know how many Hispanics we have, we don't see any African Americans working anymore on traditional jobs that you talked about. We see Hispanics working on most of those jobs and some Europeans. The African American has been displaced, and there seems to be no need for him in society in the economic industries of today. Would you agree?
I would agree at least 100%, with reservations in certain areas.
Explain to me what reservation.
Well, there is one reservation that Europeans have, is that if you give a black man a chance to have equity, socially, economically, and politically, or what some call equal rights up to what the Europeans get, you will get a one-legged black person and put him in that pot that I just mentioned and take away those disabilities, and he will rise to the top like a bullfrog that's in hot water. White folks know that. The Europeans know it. So they have used the blacks to the point now where blacks are saying, and I told you this many times before, we are considered a real human being. We want justice, we want equity, and we want a fair wage. And the people that never paid a fair wage in the South, in the nation, said, we don't need these folks anymore. We're going to have to find somebody to replace them that'll give us 12, 14, and 16 hours a day. That's not going to be unionized. That's not going to look for a minimum wage. They're going to look for a job.
So
And that's what they do in America.
So are you saying that immigrants are displacing American citizens, and they're taking the jobs away from folks that will not work for below minimum wage?
Well, now, I hate to use that word, taking the jobs away. If you have a need for 15 roofers, and here I am, Eldridge Henderson, see a sign, roofers wanted, and I go to the roofer and say, boss, what are you paying? I am paying $6 an hour. $6 an hour? I better move on. You call another person that's over here that was making 50 cents an hour a year ago in Latin America and say, I will pay you $6 an hour. He would say, give me a minute, boss. He's going to move over about 30 feet from the boss, call 15 more people, and in 30 minutes, they're going to be there and have a whole roofing team, a whole group of landscapers, a whole group of people that can build a house in 3 days. Mm-hmm. That is a fact. I see it happening all the time.
And so the black man that said no to $6 finds himself unemployed.
That's
now.
Right. Exactly
and
right.
His survival depends upon subsidy.
That's exactly right. And that causes a lot of problems. Mental unwellness, drugs and alcohol abuse, family problems, domestic problems. And then the bad part about it, Mr. Socrates, that poor black man in his 30s, 40s, and 50s end up losing the respect of his wife and his children because he is not contributing as he promised them 15 and 30 years ago. Now that is bad news. It hurts my heart to talk about it, but it's a fact. I talk to people about this all the time. And they say, Doc, I can't find a job. I say, well, you're too old. You don't have the proper skill base. No, I don't. I say, you need to go back to school then and get a certification in something. Man, I'm not smart enough. I say, you don't have to be smart enough. You have to go and enroll somewhere. You could Google a PhD without even going to a school. But you can't tell certain people that they don't have the skills. They tell themselves that. And I tell them, wherever you are, you can go and get an assessment educationally and find out what you don't know and what you know, and you can work from there. And in anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, you have a certification in an area of responsibility where you can make $15 to $50 or $60 an hour, even if you dropped out of school in middle school, if you're under 65.
Well, Doc, let me say this, and I certainly want you to continue to teach and share with our people how they can improve their conditions and their situation in life by following a proven plan that you've outlined and articulated over and over and over again. But I want to take you back. There are a group of people in Mississippi that I do see a lot that have run all of our convenience stores, and they're running all of the hotels and gas stations and restaurants. And they don't seem to be Hispanic nor Mexican. They seem to be a Indian immigrant.
Yeah, Asian types. I call them Asian types, specifically from India and what I call Indian-related ethnic groups.
And these are the ones that I refer to that affectionately have the dot and not the feather,
Right.
with traditional Native
Exactly.
American. Now, where do these people come from, and how have they managed to gain such a groundhold on the economy within the African American community?
It's very simple, and a lot of people don't know it, don't want to talk about it, those that know why they do this, and it's very economically impressive. Those Asians that come in as immigrants know they are not going to be accepted by the Europeans. They know the European Americans hate black folks in most cases, unless it's a distant relative. And they say, since they are not going to accept us, we're going to go where the people have been discriminated against economically, socially, and every other way, and we're going to get close to them. We're going to build our stores, our hair wig stores, gas stations, hotels. First they had motels, not hotels, initially, in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Now they have some of the major chains. And we're going to cater to the black man. We're going to serve him inferior food. We're going to be so nice to this black man, when he comes to our hotel, he can rent it for 2 or 3 hours a night. Leave and come back in 2 more hours and rent it again for $5 or $10. And the poor black man doesn't know that if he does that 5 or 6 times a week, which a lot of them are doing, you're spending $200 a month at $5 and $6 a day. That's what they do. Then when they pool their resources to the point, they go to the next town and look around and see what's vacant close to the black neighborhoods or the black, what I call apartment complexes. And if there's a vacant store there, they usually buy that store, and that old cousin and Uncle John and the others that they left at home that they've been sending money to say, boy, I'm tired of sending you money. You're going to come over here and work with me and live in the closet or live upstairs in this store, or we're going to put you in one of those motel rooms down the street, about 10 or 15 of you, and we're going to teach you enough English as how to count money, and we're going to teach you a few words so you can greet the people, and we're going to have you in business in less than 5 years, and then you can call your other relatives over here. And then, after they consolidate their resources and their economics, they decide we are going to become more dominant because we are going to take over this whole trade. We're going to have our distribution companies. And I use this simple analogy. When they get ready to buy toilet tissue or pencils or paper bags or those black paper sacks they put their stuff in, they buy it by the millions count. And when they need paper cups or whatever, they go to their own warehouses. When they get ready to get into a zone, the zone non-commercial, they are smart enough, and I've seen it happen, to call the politicians. Their leaders call the politicians. You don't see those people demonstrating and hollering and squalling and praying at the state capitol, looking around for somebody to help them. They call that politician the leaders goes to that politician and ask if they can support him. If they say yes, I've been in a few of these meetings because I advise people to do that. They say yes, they go back and tell their council, see, they work as a group. We can own this politician, give him a contribution. The next week, after they go to the zoning department, they have that store or that building that used to be a church, for instance. They knock off the staple, the little cross thing up there, and then they open up a store.
So they come into America knowing that the Europeans are not going to deal with them, that they are despised by the Europeans.
That's right. Until now, they stay long enough to build that economic base.
Oh yeah, once you get an economic base, then color,
anybody loves you then.
Color.
That's right. Exactly.
Whether you're black, Indian, Hispanic,
exactly.
European, it doesn't. If you got an economic base, you Mr. So-and-so.
That's exactly right.
But the strategy is, do you know that there are an oppressed people here that does not have any unity in organization?
Exactly.
Then you know that's your customer base.
Exactly. I hate to say yes to you, Mr. Socrates, but you're right on point, sir.
And so you move into that environment, and pretty soon everybody in the environment is dependent upon you.
Exactly.
For their survival. And black people who've been there all of their lives find themselves shopping at stores and businesses that are owned by immigrants that have been in this country less than 50 years.
That's right, and at the same time, they sell some of the worst food in the world. I've been to some of those places where they had the same fried chicken for 2 or 3 days, the same rolls. You can roll up one, turn it over, you see mold in it. They wiped that off, and when I worked at a convenience store in the 1950s, we were taught to do that. You wipe it off, put a little butter on the top of it, put it in the microwave for 5 seconds, and put it back out there. Them black folks gonna buy it. I hate to say this, but it's a fact, sir. Not in all the instances, but in most of them, because they know a lot of the black folks are old, they don't have transportation, they're already sick, walking on walkers in wheelchairs, can barely make it, got diabetes, heart disease, and everything else. They go to the nearest place they can get those resources because their sons and daughters have abandoned them in most cases. They have moved and went to your town, Chicago, California, and other places, or to a big city in Mississippi. They forgot about old Uncle John and Aunt Mary and Grandma Moses. They done abandoned those folks. And those Arabs just waiting for them.
Doc, we're out of time. We got to continue this conversation, and we got to continue to educate our population, because the strategy, sometimes you don't have to create anything new. The methodology is in place. You see it working. Unity is the core word that Doc has explained to us how other groups are able to move into an environment in less than 20 years, own the economy in that environment because of unity. And this great divide that's in Mississippi between blacks and whites and other ethnic groups, this great divide is keeping us on the very, very bottom.
Now, let me tell you something for the next show. If you want to, we can talk about how all this is going to change in the next 15 to 25 years in Mississippi, in the South Indian nations. Those Hispanics and those Asians are going all of a sudden appear as candidates for public office. They're going to be appointed as department heads. They're going to be on all kind of commissions and boards of control. They're going to have thousands of them that are alleging that I am a citizen, and they are, because they have their papers in order, and they're going to get on these boards of control, get in these positions, and create more problems for black folks and poor folks, because they're going to say, if you don't have bilingual skills, you're not getting this job to be the janitor, to be the driver of the county bus, to work in the county government. That's going to eliminate them and keep them right back at that same spot that they're in today. And we allow it to happen, sir. We allow it to happen because you just said we don't believe in unity. We don't believe in collaboration. We don't believe in using our resources and building our own businesses. We say we can't afford to do it. Hell, you don't need to be able to afford to do it. You just do it. Start small, where you are, but what you have with your own leaders.
Y'all come back next week. We're going to continue this conversation. Dr. Henderson is about to give us some examples of what we must do to change the trajectory of where we are headed as African Americans. It's critically important that you come back and you stay tuned with us, and let's get this thing out in the open where we can work with it. Now, Doc, your closing remarks, quickly.
Well, I want to thank you and the viewers and the listeners for thinking about every evening, on Fridays specifically, at 5 o'clock to tune in to your show. Because this is the only show where we have the independence to talk about the real news, talk about organizing and not criticizing others, and giving solutions that anyone that used the PCAP model, Prioritized Corrective Action Plan, can change their lives, their families, and their status in 30, 60, 90 days in at least 5 areas of activity: economic development, education and training, politics, religion, and leadership. And in less than 5 years, the blacks will rise so much if they do this on a unified basis until the Hispanics, the Europeans, the Asians will be afraid of them and say these Negroes have made themselves real citizens, and we are going to have to address them as citizens. And you won't see a lot of civil rights laws passed and housing laws passed anymore. Voting rights laws again. I know we don't have any more time, but don't get me started, man. This is a 3-hour conversation.
We will continue this conversation when we come back next week. We're going to close our show out now. We're running a little bit over time, but it was important, and it's important that we continue this dialogue. We're going to close the show tonight in honor of a great citizen of Mississippi. We lost the Honorable Loretta Cooper Stokes. She was a judge, she was a mother, she was a family matriarch, and we were going to miss her greatly. And our prayers and our condolences go out to Councilman Kenneth I. Stokes and his family. Until next week, y'all have a great weekend and stay safe. Good night.